Well, Meg, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys. This is great.
Can you believe that we have done probably 200 podcasts in this feed, and you are the first ever Fri-Date guest? We have never had a Fri-Date guest, and you are it. And
you have to be super bonkers and wacko to be the first guest.
Yes, you do.
Yes.
Look at my husband hogging the microphone.
It is a prerequisite. So,
okay,
Kim,
good. Well, then I win.
You win. Kim, I'm going to have you, what we're going to do is we're probably going to attack you slowly, if that's okay.
Or very quickly, one way or another.
And we have some thoughts and some questions from the audience about all kinds of different things. So, this can go down a lot of rabbit holes, but I have a feeling that what's going to happen is some general themes are going to emerge with your answers. So I'm going to let Kim start it off.
Yeah. My first question, Meg, is can you explain about just general behavior issues and what I mentioned with, there being a lack of skill or an unmet need? Can you kind of elaborate on that for us?
Sure. So 98% of the time, a challenging behavior is a lack of skill or an unmet need. And then we have to use our two best friends of time and patience. The hard thing is people want behavior, especially if they're hurting, right? Because hurting gets you kicked out of school, gets letters home, gets emails home, gets calls home. So hurting is the one that I get the most. The one I get second most is the kids that swear or they're sassy or they get mad and say they're going to kill themselves. I get that one. I get throwing stuff, not hurting people, but throwing chairs. And so they want those behaviors to stop right now. Right? I'm working with a teacher right now that says the principal says my little buddy's not allowed to swear. It's a non-negotiable. Well, you can't make kids eat, sleep, go to the bathroom, and talk.
That's true.
Right? Those are the four things you can't control in another human being. And I was like, so when he says it's non-negotiable, what does he plan? He means I want it to stop right now. So we need to think of fun. We go to fun, fast, and easy strategies. We're going to make something, teachers, right? I was a teacher for 10 years. So we like to make stuff and laminate it and get construction paper and stickers and sparkles and put it on our wall. But a kid's behavior can't be a decoration, right? I just shared that on Instagram. It can't be a decoration. But we need it to stop right this minute. Well, we can't. Because kids don't learn skills right this minute. They need to have needs met, and that takes a long time. So the one strategy that works 90% of the time is one I would never suggest, but it is the fastest strategy. It is hitting.
Oh, yeah. You can hit
right?
it like that. Yeah.
Right? If you hit a kid, they are scared of you, and 90% it'll fix it like that, 90%. But that's a fear-based strategy.
Stop talking.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming that you're putting fixing in quotes, right? So
yeah, of course.
Yeah,
yes.
Got it.
Yes, because we are gardeners, not mechanics. So we don't see kids as broken. We see them as, right, we're planting seeds, and then we have to wait, time and patience, and do, right? And how does a plant grow? You give it what it needs to grow, right? You give photosynthesis and water and sunlight and so we can't do the hitting or the corporal punishment. We have to move from that. So then people think, okay, so physical wellness is off the table. We have to make sure kids are physically safe. So then we attack emotional wellness. So if you ask kids about all these behavior charts, and I'm so happy you said no to the teacher, it takes somebody who knows and then has research to back it up or someone to talk to say, like, what language do I use to say this is absolutely not happening? My son goes to private school because the school system in our district uses behavior charts. And I was like, oh, man. So now I went from free education to $8,000 a year of education for third grade because I refuse to use that stuff. But that's what they learn in school, though, Kim and Rob. That's what they learn in school.
And
the teachers learn that in school.
So you have a kid, right? And like, there's all spectrums. Sophia is an average kid, and there's all of these kids are average kids, right? They're all average kids that are just going to school. They're hitting, or they're sassy, or they're this, or they're that. My biggest thing when I started down this journey was, how do you know what need is not being met? Let's start with needs. What need is not being met? How do you even begin to determine that? Because like you said, parents want instant gratification.
Yeah.
They want, I'm going to do a sticker chart. I'm going to do tickets in a jar. I'm going to do all of these reward type strategies, which I am completely guilty of. And
I'm guilty of it too, and I know not to do it.
right. And so, but how do you start? It's a long process to figure out what need is not being met, because no parent wants to think they're not meeting a child's need, right?
No, right.
So how do you start that process?
So right now I have a master's class doing this process. So people are like, so I can't use fear. So I can't use any of those sticker charts. Timeouts is one, clip down systems, any of the tokens, pipe cleaners, beads, gems,
Anything.
stickers, any of those things are out. So then they're like, so where do I go to pick? So where we have to start first is ourselves. And I know, Kim, you've done a lot with love languages. So, right, so I know my love language.
Yep.
Human behavior dictates that we love others the way we need it, not the way they need it. So the first thing we do is, what are we doing with ourselves? What we have to do a lot of self-reflection, and what pieces are we not meeting, because sometimes we don't even know. Then, so after we answer the who am I question, we answer who is this child. So sometimes it's hard at home or hard at school because it's a mismatch of temperament. Do you know how many kids I overwhelmed in the 10 years I taught? The slower paced kids. I was like, let's go, let's race, woo! And they were like, eyes wide open, like, what is happening? So then we enter relationships. They should be empowering. That's a need. Then we look at the 4 aspects of the environment, right?
Okay, so just, can you list the needs for me? Or is there so many that we can't really?
Yeah, no, there's so many that you can't.
Okay, so but the core needs that a parent should start looking at is like, how am I interacting with this child? Do we have a mismatched temperament? Am I treating them or giving them love by my love language versus theirs?
Their love language, right?
Okay, and then what was the next one you were going to?
Okay, so then what kind of an environment do I have? What needs are being met in the environment? So
Okay.
is there a need for quiet and calm? Is there a need for fidgeting and movement? Is there a need for helping others and being in pairs? Right? So I work best with a partner because I think out loud. So if I think out loud by myself,
That's like
I
you.
have someone to bounce it off of.
Yeah, that's like you. He's an external processor, so he talks
right.
things through.
That's
I'm
an-
internal, so when you assign me a partner, I'm like, I don't want to explain it to them.
Right.
Exactly. So, okay. So let me give you some instances, right? Maybe it will be easy to kind of go through this because I put some questions out into different forums to get some response and questions for you. So let's see, here's a good one. Kids that need to always go first, be chosen first. And if they're not chosen or go first, they shut down.
Yeah. Or freak out.
Like, so is that a lack of skill, or is that an unmet need, or is a need being too met? Like, are they getting too much attention? Like they're the only child and then they go into a conference of many?
So they are it's a temperament piece. So it's the second one I said, the who is this child? So who is this child? They are I bet this child is strong-willed, dominant, determined, which is awesome at 25.
Yeah.
Really hard at 4.
Yeah.
Because they want what they want right now.
Yeah.
So the lack of skill is substitution and delayed gratification. They don't know how to do those things. They don't know how to delay gratification. They want it right now, right? I want to be first now. They are probably egocentric. We're egocentric till we're 6 years old. And we know some people that don't grow out of that. That egocentrism, right? They stay in there. And then their need is they want it to be fast. And so how do we slow that down? And it's not, again, what behavior chart do you make for that? There's no behavior chart for that.
No. So what do you do? Like, how do you teach them those skills?
So delayed gratification it's going to start really small. So when at home, if this kid is, right, one of two kids in the house, there's two parents, someone could probably help the kid right away. There are some kids that are external in anger, so they are outside their bodies with anger, not inside their heads. And it doesn't look good, and they tantrum, so the parents help them right away. We have to start having a pause, say, oh, but I'll get to that 1 minute, but I need to finish washing the dishes, where the parents used to stop washing the dishes and just help. Okay. And then when they get really big in emotion, now you have to teach them what to do when they get big with emotion. And we start with happy, sad, mad, and afraid.
Okay.
So you're mad, I get it.
Yeah.
You can't be mad like that. So that's a whole nother piece. So it's not easy.
It's not. And this is the part where I think parents that truly want to fix the core root of it instead of just sticker charting it and having this constant fight. This is a thing, because when I went through all of your YouTube videos, I sat down with Sophia and we talked about happy, sad, mad, jealous, like all of those things. And what I found is when she's fearful of something, it comes out as anger because she doesn't know what to do with that emotion. And she doesn't know how to handle that emotion. And so
fear's the hardest.
Fear is the hardest. So like there was a little girl on the playground that was kind of taunting her to do the monkey bars, and she was little, and she's 3 feet tall like me, and she's a little thing. So she's scared. It's so high for her. And instead of knowing what to do, the girl kept taunting, do it, just do it, just do it. And so Sophia finally pushed her because she was getting in her space. And so we talked about it, and I said, okay, what were you feeling in that moment when you did that? She was like, angry at her. I said, but before that, she was like, I was scared. I'm just like, so we were able to back it up and say, you were scared. And so here's something you could have done. Here's a different strategy. And I gave her a different strategy. But if I didn't sit down and talk to her about all of those emotions and different instances and where they led to, I would have never figured this out with her to be able to provide the skill, like you said.
Right. And the sticker wouldn't have done it.
And the sticker doesn't do it. Like giving her a sticker because she was good at recess the whole time is not going to be the catalyst of change, right? As much as we want it to.
And you have to know that right? So now that she's out of I pushed her and I'm in trouble. So now she's in the processing stage. She could be logical with you. Oh, that's what I'm going to do next time. And no, next time she's probably not going to do it.
No.
Because she goes right to emotion. And when you go to emotion, you can't be emotional and logical at the same time.
Okay, so one other thing that you taught me, I think it was you, was when they do something with their hands, shove, you need to give them something else to substitute and do with their hands.
Yeah, so it's hands, feet, and mouth.
Can you explain that?
Her hands, you can't have her take a deep breath because that won't come natural to her, and it's hard to form a habit when you've switched body parts.
Right? Do you remember me talking to you about that? So, like, if you have a child that kicks, teach them to stomp their feet. Yeah,
stomp their feet, walk away, kick something else, but then you have to have the child, right, to kick something else, you probably have to go find it.
Yeah.
Right? So a lot of people are like, I teach them to punch pillows. I said, but no, that's great. But then they have to find a pillow.
Yeah.
So what do we do with that space in between? I want to hit this kid.
Yeah.
Punch his face. But now I'm going to punch a pillow. So then, right, so I have kids, oh, you're so mad, you want to punch. Start singing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, Go Look for a Pillow. Like, do the Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star in your head, sing the ABCs, sing your favorite song, till you get to the pillow.
That's good. So, okay. So the first question somebody had was about big emotions, hitting, words, kicking. So if someone is shoving, find something to do with your hands. Like I have Sophia do this. I'm like, when you go to do this, do this.
I put them under my armpits.
Like put them under your armpits, sit on them, grab your own hand, do something different. If it's words, that's where the take a deep breath can happen, right?
Yeah,
what else?
Or you substitute bad words for, I had a little girl that she used to say the S word, and then I taught her to say sassafras. Well, sassafras has 2 swear words in it, but you can't hear it. So she chose sassafras because she didn't get in trouble for sassafras, but she also thought she was still swearing.
Oh, that's really funny. Okay.
Yeah, it was really, and she was like 5, so she couldn't even spell it. She just heard it in her head.
She just heard it and she loved it. Okay, so that handles the big emotions. But the bigger thing with kids that have bigger emotions is sitting down and talking to them about what does it feel like in your body when you're happy? What does it feel like when you're angry? Because
draw like a crime scene. Put them on a piece of butcher paper and draw them.
Oh,
and then,
that's
like,
interesting.
you have a visual too.
Oh, that's interesting. Draw them out and give them a visual, because I noticed with Sophia, I was like, how do you feel when you feel nervous? My tummy starts to hurt. How do you feel when you feel fearful? Or whatever. How do you feel when you feel angry? Oh, I have angry bubbles. And so I'll look at her and I'm like, I see the angry bubbles. What do we have to do to stop it? And she's like, okay. Like it's a trigger for her now that we have this communication open. It makes it easier. Okay, so those are a couple. So how do you handle jealousy? I know I've reached out to you with this one. So God help Rob if he's doing a play date and a little girl comes over and says, can you tie my shoe? Sophia will come and sit on him like she's a Great Dane, you know.
She'll pee on me too, yeah.
So what do we do with jealousy?
So jealousy at under the age of 6, jealousy looks like mad, because jealousy is the combination of mad, sad, and afraid. I'm mad or sad that girl is playing with my dad and afraid he won't come and play with me again.
Got it.
So if she doesn't know mad, sad, and afraid, then jealousy is hard for her to understand. Jealousy is actually one that is learned best at 12.
Okay. So what do you do at 6 though? Like I had one mom that, you know, has the second kid or has 2 boys, and there's a lot of jealousy going on. We have Sophia, a lot of jealousy. Like I don't think I can do this until 12. So what do we do now to help her ease the jealousy up? Like, does she need to identify it, or is that an unmet skill, or a lack of skill or an unmet need?
So has anybody asked her, when you see another little girl with daddy and he's tying her shoe, what are you thinking in your head? And I want her to say, like, even if it's bad words, even if it's like, I want to hit that girl in the face because that's my dad.
That's probably it, right?
And then you say, I'm wondering if you think that he shouldn't help anybody else, because we talk about helping a lot. So what if daddy said, no, I can't tie your shoe? Now you kind of look like you have a mean daddy because he won't tie another little girl's shoe. So I wonder what we could do. And she's old enough to put it in her court. Like, when you see daddy with another little girl and you think these things, what's one thing we could do to make it better? So I always say, slow it down, don't rainbow around. Don't go to, like, the next time, Rob, you're tying another little girl's shoe, she's going to figure it all out and she's going to do it. Right? What can I do to get to here? Like 3 millimeters in the right direction. So it might just be, I'm gonna go and hold my daddy's hand instead of sitting on him, right? That's better. I still have to touch him. And then you say, oh, so you just want that little girl to know that's my daddy and he rocks.
How do you do, I'm looking at these questions that are they're kind of in a similar theme. It's kind of like, how do you handle the meltdowns when they don't get what they want, whether it's the time or the thing or the instant? So we talked about instant gratification. Like, when they don't get that instant gratification, how do you handle that meltdown or that tantrum or sassiness? Do you ignore it? What do you do?
So I never say ignore it. I always say sometimes you have to pay less attention to it. If you have kids that are like melting down on the floor, you're not going to ignore it and walk away from them because they're in their emotional brain. They need someone when they come out of their emotional brain to be logical with them and process so it can get better next time. Some kids who are quality time don't want you to leave anyway. They want you to stay there. If they're hurting, we want to stand 3 to 5 feet away, right, so we don't get hurt. But we want to stay there with them, and we want to help them figure out the emotions. But that's not in the moment when they're having the meltdown. There's nothing you can do.
So you just let
We
them.
have
You
to
let
be
them.
proactive.
You just let
We
them.
are have to be proactive.
Yeah.
It's like trying to tell somebody to stop throwing up when they're throwing up. They're just going to do it until
Yes.
it's over.
So
Well,
you let
how
them
about
do
when
it.
you're really mad? You've both probably been angry recently. I think everybody's been angry recently. And what happens, Rob, if you're angry and I say, Rob, calm down?
You're throwing
What?
logic at emotion, and it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, right, calm down. Like, oh, no, I didn't think of that already. I can't calm down. I'm not able to right now. Like, duh. So that's what it's like when we start to, oh, you seem so mad. How do you feel right now? As they're still mad. We also then look at their bodies and we're like, oh, their bodies are calm. Let's process. But their brain is not calm. So they shoot right back up to high emotion again. So it is a big, long process. And we know adults that, right? Do we still see adults that freak out?
Yeah.
That have meltdowns, right? They haven't learned the skill yet either.
So
How do we expect a 3-year-old to know?
Right. So they melt down. They're kicking on the floor. They're doing the tantrum. You're there. You're not leaving, but you're not engaging in it, right? So you're still kind of there. Do you just wait till it stops and then you sit down, and what's the conversation look like post meltdown to try to process?
Yeah, so we're not setting them up for anything. A lot of people are trying to set them up for answering like questions in the way that the adults want them to answer it. Say, so I do a lot of open-ended questions. Whoa, buddy, that looked like it made you really mad. I'm wondering what you were thinking. And now, remember, you can't make kids talk. So we will say that, and then we're like, so what are you thinking? What are you thinking? Tell me what you're thinking. I want this to be better. What are you thinking? Sometimes you just have to leave it there. Buddy, that was hard. It's hard for me and you. I know what I was thinking. I wonder what you were thinking.
It's really good.
When you want to tell me, I am so happy to listen. If you want me to go first, I'll tell you what I was thinking. And then if the kids don't answer, it's okay. Because they heard you, it's in their brains, and you're a little bit closer. We sometimes lose that and make kids talk when we can't. So then we set them up for, next time you do this, you're just going to take a deep breath, right? And what is the kid going to say? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're in the processing mode, right? So, okay. Because I'm not mad anymore. I'm logical. That sounds great. I'm totally going to take a deep breath.
So how do you help them so once they do tell you, okay, so once they do the meltdown, they come out of it, you do the open-ended question. I'd love to know what you were thinking. I wonder what you were thinking during that. That looked really, angry or whatever. They eventually maybe share that with you. Is that where you, from that moment, try to figure out if there's a lack of skill or an unmet need?
Yeah. So their lack of skill is that when I get mad, I'm external. I don't know how to make the emotion come out of my body in an appropriate way. That's the lack of skill.
And how would you teach that? Like we talked about with the hands, the feet.
Yeah, so what does the tantrum look like? Sometimes a tantrum is because I'm so mad it just feels good. So we're going to teach you what else makes you feel good when you're mad. Just so if you're tantruming and you're hurting others, what's better than that? Screaming. I taught a boy when I taught kindergarten to yell my name. He would go, Megg! Megg! Really loud. And I would run to him because I knew that he needed me, but he used to knock kids down. So that's better. So what's better than what you are currently seeing right now?
So it might not, you're not taking it to perfect. You're not
No.
fixing it. You're just getting a little bit better. What can we move that's a little bit better? So,
And that's not your end strategy, right? Yelling is not your end strategy. But it's going to get you to the end strategy.
So I have a lot of friends that have like 2 boys. And the 2 boys go at each other and pick on each other, and there's an attention grab always. Like, how do you as a parent, do you have to set apart quality time with each of them, and then what works for one isn't going to work with the other, and that's where these like ticket jars and all of this other crap comes in, right?
Yes.
So what are alternatives when they're fighting and losing it and doing things they shouldn't be? What are alternatives to timeouts or negative punishments? Like, is there any punishment that you give? Like when Sophia is really, really just rude to me, I will ask her to go to her room and to calm down, think about it, and come back when she's like changed her state, because I don't actually know what else to do. So like when
that's not a punishment as much as it's a take a break.
So taking a break is okay, but a timeout in the corner, sitting in a chair, facing a wall, like that's not really what we're looking for. Like,
so we want natural and logical consequences.
Okay.
So a natural consequence is when you don't eat dinner. What's the natural consequence?
You're hungry.
Yeah. If you don't wear a coat outside and it is 30 degrees, not in California, but here in New Hampshire, when you don't wear a coat outside and it's 30 degrees, what's the natural consequence?
Yeah.
You're cold.
Okay.
You run across the street, the natural consequence is that you get hit by a car. So when the physical or emotional wellness is at stake, we change it to logical consequences. They need to be related, respectful, and reasonable.
Okay. So this is going to help so many people, because I know that I did this part of your stuff, and I still, even now, I'm like, I can't do it. So it's kind of like, here's what's not a natural consequence. Sophia screams at me, I take away the iPad. Not a natural consequence.
No, it's not a logical consequence either. No. If Sophia screams at you and she's quality time, here's the logical consequence. You scream at me, mommy feels, now you have frustrated, sad, mad mommy, and frustrated, sad, mad mommy doesn't want to play with you because I'm mad.
Yeah.
Because in real life, if Rob yelled at you and then he said, hey, you want to go on a date tonight? Are you going to say yes?
No.
You're going to be like, and no to you.
So they need to be related, respectful, and
reasonable.
So
if she yells at you, it can't be like, you are mad at her, or you show that you're mad at her for like 3 days. Remember 3 days ago when you yelled at me in the kitchen? Like that can't be a thing.
Okay. So 2 kids screaming at each other, fighting all the time, nonstop, that kind of thing. What would the natural consequences, like how would you have consequences with that? Because right now I listen to them and they're like, scream at them, go to your room, you go to your room, and separate them, and that's it. But what is the way to have a consequence for behavior for 2 different kids like that are fighting with each other?
So you have to know who your kids are. So first of all, you need to have a fair versus equal conversation. What works for one kid is not going to work for the other. So if I tell you to go to your room because I know that works for you, but I don't tell him to go to his room, it's because it doesn't work for him, right? I hung out with a family whose 2 kids, one wanted to be with you because she was quality time. So if you sent her to her room, she was pissed. She was so mad. If you sent the boy to his room, he was like, yes! I didn't want to be with you guys anyway. So you have to parent the kids according to temperament. And then if the kids fight and hit, what part in the house, how is that allowed? Right? So again, go back to yourself. Like, how, if they're yelling at each other and hitting each other, is hitting allowed in the house? No. So we need to sit down. We have to talk about, if the kids are old enough, you're going to sit and have a family, hopefully at dinner. Okay, these are the rules. Now you're going to have the kids make up their own consequences. They usually make worse ones for themselves than you do for them. And you're going to say, okay, so when you hit each other, mommy is really tired of this. You got to be honest. It's really tiring. And I know I have to do something differently. And you guys have to do something differently. And I don't know what it is, but we're going to talk about it right now. And again, you want it a little bit. So the kids are like, when we hit each other, then what? Well, I can't take you places when you're hitting each other and fighting. Because that's embarrassing for everybody, and that's not how you act in public. So if we continue to do this, know that I'm going to not want to do those things. And you want to, right? Well, Corona right now, but I mean in regular life.
Yeah.
But if they're fighting, what are they fighting about? What is it about each kid, their temperament? So if you have 2 kids that are external, that's really tough. Really hard. It's just, you have to start way back at the beginning.
I'm listening to this, and I'm like, basically, you just have to call Megg and do a consultation, because it's so, like, it all comes back. I mean, I'm definitely seeing the common theme. It's like, what's the behavior? Is it an unmet need? Is it a lack of skill? But at the same time, they need a consequence. Consequence needs to be a natural consequence or logical, needs to be related, respectful, and reasonable. Like, there are so many parts of this. Okay.
And that's the thing I get the most questions on, is consequences.
Yeah.
Because parents just want to nip it in the bud. Take things away. It's usually technology.
Yeah.
And that doesn't work because the kids are like, whatever.
Yeah, they're like, whatever. Okay, real quick, I saw you post on the other day, because I know you have to go. I know you have a hard out. I saw a post you did the other day that I loved. And real quick, on any teachers listening to this, or parents that can advocate for their kid on behavior systems and clip charts and all of that. Megg did a post, and it said, hanging behavior management systems on a classroom wall or door is like hanging the teacher evaluations in the hallway. Teachers would say, no way, you're not doing that. Wish we had asked the kids the same question.
Ooh, you kicked them right in the teeth. Wow,
And-
that was good.
Yeah, I did.
And
I told you I was sassy. Remember, that's how we started.
Yeah.
our local school, I mean, we're debating homeschooling, because I have walked at the halls of our local school and I have seen clip charts on the doors for the parents or whoever to see. And it just, I don't remember that. Megg, what year did this shift? Because when we were in school together, I don't recall clip charts. I mean, maybe like some sort of thing where you got a star every day in like the early years, but these like clip
Yeah, I don't remember
charts.
it happening to me.
It's
I don't
like,
know when it shifted.
but what's the biggest problem with that? If you can just wrap it in a bow for us, for parents that can advocate, or teachers listening can make a different decision.
So remember, all strategies can't end in shame, guilt, and embarrassment. If you ask, so I've taught thousands of teachers. I have asked almost in every workshop I've done, if you came in and I had this behavior chart, ready to learn, good, great, outstanding, warning, teacher consequence, parent contact, if I had that and you were here and I gave you a clip and you wrote on the clip and I put it on here, and then I started to tell you to move up and down your clip, how many people want to play? Out of thousands, and I'm not kidding or exaggerating, I've had maybe 10 people say they'll play. This is how they say it though. Oh, I'll play.
Yeah.
Right? Sassy, like, I'm going to hijack your class time with this. And then other people are like, oh my gosh, I don't want to play. They're like, I am anxious just thinking that you might do that. And I was like, first of all, I would never do that. But adults say no to it.
Yeah.
Would you want to go and the principal has one outside about if you were late or not late, if you stayed late, if you got the appropriate score for standardized testing in your classroom? Do you want that clip outside his office? No.
How is the best way to communicate with a school that maybe this strategy is not the best?
So I always have, I have a, if people find me, I have a Google Docs that has like 75 articles that shows. So we want research that shows it does work and it keeps the child's emotional wellness intact. There is not research that shows that. The research we see is that it doesn't work and it hurts emotional wellness. So I give those, and then I give the language around the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and that we're messing up tier 2. And if we mess up tier 2, they're not getting to need to know and understand. They're not being curious as a human about learning because they're stuck in, I feel gross about myself.
Okay, so to kind of recap, the core needs, physiological, emotional, love and belonging, self-esteem, once those are met, then they are a healthy, happy, moving child that can now begin to learn and function and operate in all of the ways that one would want to operate, correct?
Right. And school goes from physiological
Yeah.
to eating, sleeping, going to the bathroom,
Yeah.
skips the next 3 and goes right to need to know and understand.
So you get the physiological in school, but you're missing the rest of it. So we have to do this at home. So we have that. Don't use strategies that are fear, shame, embarrassment to protect the emotional wellness, because the emotional part is one of the hierarchy of needs, right? The emotional component of that. And
mess with that. It could mess up. You could be responsible for messing it up for the kid's whole life.
Isn't that crazy? So
that's awful. I would hate to be that person.
If you had to give parents right now that are overwhelmed, overworked, overstressed, overstimulated, a piece of advice in dealing with children that are probably mirroring their action and their emotion, what would it be?
Start with yourself and self-care, for sure. Almost every strategy starts with ourselves. And Rob, I think, has been a very good role model for that, because the stuff he's talked about today, he could be a very different man because of the hard things that have happened to him. And he's a very different man because he's done that self-awareness piece, self-reflection piece. And it's really hard for adults, especially in Corona, to do any of that. And they just want this fixed. So know that it's time and patience, but it has to start with us. And people are like, but I'm so stressed, I can't. Okay, so now figure out, how do we take care of ourselves? Because if we can't do that, I don't know how any of the kids are going to function if the adults in their lives are.
I love it. Megg, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. Do you have any final suggestions, questions, or an ask for people that are listening?
No, I guess find me if you have. Like Jim said, there's no instruction manual, and I try to help. But I mean, even in this half hour, I feel like people are like, oh, okay, so I have to start here. But when we read a lot of books or do a lot of these systems, it doesn't guide you that way, right? I'm trying to take people off that path and go a different way. For sure.
We will link, you can find her at meggthompson.com. And we will also link to your YouTube, your Instagram, and they can even get your children's books.
Second one's being printed right now.
Oh my gosh, this is
awesome. It has the word poop in it. It's going to be every kid's favorite book.
There will definitely be Sophia's favorite book right now.
They love poop. I don't know why they love poop, but they love poop.
They do love poop.
I've got a squirrel. I got a squirrel that's coming after.
Oh my God,
nuts right now. I gotta go.
Oh, the squirrel is Megg. A squirrel showed up just for you.
Is it really?
A real squirrel? A real life. He's outside scaring it away right now.
Yes.
Megg showed up a real life squirrel. Oh, now he's going after Rob. He ain't scared. Hey, Rob, be gentle. It's an animal.
Hey, don't hurt my squirrel.
Megg, this couldn't end on any better note for you than the squirrels. I can't even. But thank you so much for doing this. Look. He just went against everything you said. He used fear. He embarrassed himself.
She didn't say I couldn't do it. Couldn't do it with a squirrel.
Squirrels are her jam.
He was just going up in the bird feeder, trying to get the bird feeder, and I went out there and I went, hey, and he looked at me like that. I was like, oh no, you don't.
You don't.
Meg said I can't hit, but I will take this broomstick.
But listen. Rob did close the patio door now because he's scared it's going to come in here. So there is that. Well, Megg, thank you so much.
Thanks for everything.
We are going to link you up so people can find you. And that is it, my dear.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, Megg.